Delta Force Hawk Ops has just launched their open beta, so here is every operator explained so you can get into the battlefield.
Let's start off with the Assault Operators. In addition to their abilities in Havoc Warfare, every class has access to a class-specific item slot. As for Assault, this means that you can have the choice of carrying one healing syringe, an EMP grenade, an anti-personnel grenade, or an armor plate. Certain classes have access to certain weapons that others don't. So as for primary weapons, the Assault class has access to the AK-12, the AKM, AKS-74, AS-VAL, CAR-15, M1014, M16A4, M4A1, M870, PTR-32, QBZ-95-1, S12K, and the SKS. And like any other class, as for secondaries, they have access to the Deagle, the QSC-92G, the G17-93R, G18, and the Revolver. I felt like that was important to mention. But anyways, let's go over D-Wolf. This guy is all about being a fragger on the flanks, looking for entries into the enemy's backlines where he can get huge kills that can send his team forward. One of the main ways he can do this is thanks to his main ability, the Motorized Exoskeleton. The Motorized Exoskeleton lets D-Wolf power up and enter the Overload mode. This makes you run a lot faster, while dramatically raising your field of view at the same time. The increased movement speed also applies when you are mid-air, meaning you jump way farther. If you are a movement addict, you can use this to your advantage mid-fight by jumping, running, and then turning around to spam this over and over again. Getting a kill with the Overload mode actually adds 5 seconds to your Overload duration per kill. At the time of this video, it has a cooldown of 80 seconds. His second ability, Triple Blaster, fires 3 consecutive explosives that explode after a set amount of time. They do not explode on impact and deal about a third of an enemy's health each against enemy infantry. Due to the prime time of the explosives, it makes the most sense to use it against targets around 90 meters away, seeing as it would explode instantly. The Triple Blaster also deals substantial amounts of damage against vehicles. The Triple Blaster has a cooldown of 45 seconds. You don't need to restock it to use it, you just need to wait for the cooldown to finish. His third ability, the Tactical Smoke Grenade, quickly underhand tosses a smoke grenade where you are aiming, and after thrown, it will explode on impact. The smoke grenade doesn't really have a cooldown either. You can throw as many as you want as long as they are restocked by the ammo box, and this really goes for any grenade type or third slot ability. As for D-Wolf's passive, that's the Tactical Slide. It makes you the only operator in the game that can pull off a tactical slide by crouching anytime that you're sprinting, assuming you have reached about max sprint speed. You can cancel the Tactical Slide by jumping or hitting crouch again. You can also slide longer by sliding downhill rather than on plain even ground, and if you slide uphill, it'll get slowed or cancelled. But that was it for D-Wolf, so let's go over the next operator in the Assault class, that being Byron. Just like D-Wolf, you will want Byron to play around the backlines, but his job leans more towards getting individual, maybe even VIP kills, as well as his mowdowns. He can pull this off thanks to his dash and reset, as well as his very strong C4-like ability for vehicles. His main ability is a grenade launcher which deals no damage but stuns and knocks down any enemies hit by it for about 5 seconds. It takes a while to explode and has a maximum range of about 20 meters, so in my opinion it's mostly unreliable unless you're going for style points or get a massive flank when nobody's looking your way, in which case you could probably follow it up with a explosive or just killing everyone on your own. The QLL-32 has a cooldown of 1 minute, and as with any ability, using the QLL-32 will trigger your passive, but more on that later, because we're going to talk about his secondary ability, that being the Dynamic Propulsion, which allows Byron to instantly dash unilaterally wherever your movement input is pointing. The dash has a range of 10 meters, and if you dash over a ledge into a free fall, it will actually give you a short moment of mid-air glide or a roadrunner hover before you fall down. You can also shoot during the gliding phase. From my testing, it appears you can take damage while you are mid-dash, but enemies will very often struggle to track it or shoot it, so you'll usually stay alive for longer mid-duel as well. Normally, Dynamic Propulsion has a cooldown of 15 seconds, but scoring kills will instantly refund the cooldown. This lets you all in on an enemy and then instantly dash back to cover to reset once they're dead, so you can fight the next one. Byron's third ability, Magnetic Bomb, lobs a time-controlled sticky explosive that blows up after 4 seconds, dealing a significant amount of damage to both infantry as well as vehicles. You can carry 2 magnetic bombs at a time, and as with any other grenades, it doesn't have an explicit cooldown and can be restocked from an ammo source. The magnetic bomb also breaks walls and certain props, making it an ideal choice to act as a breach charge if you want to get another angle. Byron's passive mixes with the rest of his kit perfectly. Using any ability will give you the acceleration status, which raises your run speed for the next 1 second. You also take reduced fall damage, and if your fall would have made you take fall damage, this will also trigger acceleration for the same amount of time as using an ability. Keep in mind that this does not apply for all ranges. You'll still die if you jump off a cliff. I would say that you get reduced fall damage much up until you hit paired shooting range, after which case you die. But anyways, let's continue with the support class. In addition to their abilities, the support class also has access to the ammo crate and the mid crate. As for primary weapons, the support class has access to the AKS-74, Bison, Kar-15, K416, M1014, M6A4, M870, MP5, P90, S12K, Scar-H, SMG45, SR3M, Uzi, Vector, and the VTS. I'm definitely messing up these pronunciations, just don't come at me. At the moment, there's only one support operator, that being Stinger. Stinger is all about playing in the thick of it, in the front lines or even slightly behind it, enabling his team with heals, ammunition, and speedy revives. Stinger's main ability, the Hive-Tech pistol, lets you heal your teammates as well as yourself. When holding the pistol, hovering your aim over your teammates up to about 50 meters away will have the pistol lock onto them, and once you fire, assuming they're still within a line of sight, it will start healing them up on hit. You can also use the pistol to instantly start your own heal up by holding the main ability key. If the target being healed takes damage, then the healing effect is cancelled. The Hive-Tech pistol uses special ammo with a magazine size of 6 bullets. It refreshes 1 special bullet every 6 seconds. Stinger's second ability, Smokescreen, allows Stinger to utilize his drones and create a smoke wall that's up to 25 meters long. If you hold your primary fire after using them, the smoke will actually curve in the direction that your aim is going. The smokescreen will always be deployed on ground level underneath the drones. If you apply it when on a higher ground or even midair, they will drop the smoke all the way underground underneath it. This makes the smokescreen the ideal choice whenever you want to push an enemy. If you are pinned or need to cross an area, just smoke off the entire enemy line and then you can run up safely. You can even combine it with the next ability for even more cover. The smokescreen has a cooldown of 45 seconds and does not need to be restocked. Stinger's third ability, the Hive-Tech smoke grenade, makes Stinger instantly throw a smoke grenade up to around 40 or 50 meters away. As with any throwables, the Hive-Tech smoke grenade has no cooldown and can be used right after a restock. And as with all the grenades, it takes an entire restock from an ammo crate to get 1 smoke grenade back. As for Stinger's passive, Expertly Rescue, this lets Stinger revive any teammates at a fraction of the time compared to any other operators and at a much safer distance, just a small pinprick, which will bring them back to full health. Make sure you combine your revives with the smoke grenade or the smoke screen to let your teammates get back into safety once the revive finishes. Moving on, there is the Engineer class, and in addition to their ability, the Engineer class also has access to the AT4 launcher, the Stinger launcher, the EMP grenade, Javelin launcher, and the active denial system. As for primary weapons, the Engineer class has access to the AKS-74, the ASH-12, the AUG, Kar-15, G3, M1014, M14, M16A4, M249, M7, M870, PKM, S12K, and of course, the Scar-H. At the time of this video, there's really only one operator in the support class, and that's Shephard, so let's go over how he works. Generally speaking, Shephard will want to be in the middle of the fight, but thanks to his abilities, he will be able to push forward and create space for his team, as well as setting up to deny the enemies from pushing up, and of course, taking out any vehicles. Shephard's main ability, Sonic Paralysis, unleashes a drone traveling forward from where you are aiming that inflicts a sonic stun on any enemies within range. Enemies hit by the Sonic Paralysis have their vision impaired, all of their abilities and movement slowed down, in addition to having their weapons fire rate reduced for a short period of time. The Sonic Paralysis works in a dome surrounding the drone, but keep in mind that the enemies are alerted of its immediate position and can easily destroy it with a few focused gunshots. The Sonic Paralysis has a cooldown of 90 seconds. Shephard's secondary ability, Sonic Trap, lets you place 1 out of 2 Sonic Traps wherever you point it, about 10 meters away. Any enemies that enter the trap will trigger it, and after a small delay, it will apply the same paralysis that you see from the Sonic Paralysis drone, in addition to dealing a pretty significant chunk of damage. The enemies will see a very visible warning whenever the Sonic Trap is activated, which might let them get away before it blows up. To counteract this, you can actually remotely detonate it when looking at it. If you time it correctly, then it will blow up right when the enemy is within range, but before they can actually get away. Thanks to its long range, you can also use the Sonic Trap aggressively, just throw it into the enemy team and play off of that explosion. You can also retrieve the Sonic Trap by getting close enough and pressing the retrieve button. Otherwise, the Sonic Trap has a cooldown of about 30 seconds per trap. Shephard's third ability, the Enhanced Frag Grenade, is really just a grenade with a fuse time of 5 seconds. It deals no damage against most vehicles, if not all of them, but will one-shot infantry if close enough. You can cook the grenade by holding your primary fire, which cuts the time left until it explodes to after you've thrown it, depending on how long you hold onto it. Shephard's passive adds a significant amount of resistance from explosions. This lets you survive direct blasts that would otherwise kill an operator, for example any frag grenades. It also makes it easier to duel tanks or vehicles, though obviously you'll still be severely disadvantaged if they are looking your way. Shephard also has one additional ability, that being the Welder. The Welder allows Shephard to repair any friendly turrets or vehicles. It also lets you deal marginal damage to any enemy vehicles if you get close enough. enough. But yeah, Shephard was the only engineer, so finally we're gonna go over the recon class as well. In addition to their abilities, the recon class also has access to the respawn beacon or the laser indicator. As for the primary weapons, the recon class can use the AKS-74, the AWM, the CAR-15, M1014, M16A4, M700, M870, Mini-14, P90, R93, S12K, SG552, SKS, SMG45, SR25, SV98, SVD, the UZ, the Vector, and the VSS. The first recon operator we're going to cover will of course be Luna. She uses her bow and arrow to provide information and space and utility for her teammates, which can also enable her to play far back with supportive or even aggressive sniping, though that doesn't mean that she cannot play on the front lines with an aggressive weapon either. Luna's main ability, Detection Arrow, lets her bring out her bow and fire an arrow that detects any nearby enemies within range and within line of sight from the arrow for the entire duration that it is airborne. Its range is calculated in a dome surrounding the arrow with a diameter of about 10 meters. The highlight effect is visible for Luna and her teammates for 2 seconds after they've been pinged until it goes away on its own or if the targets die. This also means that it makes sense to use a detection arrow if the enemies smoke forward. In almost every case, there will be an enemy inside of it or behind the smoke. Believe it or not, the arrow will instantly kill an enemy if it hits them at full charge.
The detection arrow has a cooldown of 60 seconds.
As for her second ability, that is the Volt Arrow, which also lets her bring out the bow, but instead of firing a recon arrow, she shoots an electric one instead. Upon landing, the electric arrow will deal about 25 damage per tick against any enemies inside of its range. You also take damage from it, but your teammates are going to be unharmed. If an enemy is directly hit by the arrow itself, the arrow will stick to them and deal that tick damage as if they were stuck to the ground, but to the person instead, which damages any nearby enemies and eventually kills the user after 4 ticks. I like to use the Volt Arrow in tight choke points or wherever I know an enemy will be rotating through. It's also good to use it preemptively, either to deny enemies from holding certain angles or just to trigger Luna's passive, which we will go over in a little bit, but first we have to cover her third ability, which is the same enhanced frag grenade that Shephard uses. It has a fuse time of 5 seconds, it deals no damage against most vehicles, but will one-shot infantry if close enough. You can cook the grenade by holding primary fire, which cuts the time left until it explodes after you've thrown it, depending on how long you will hold on to it. But anyways, let's talk about the passive. Enemy analysis gives Luna and her teammates a temporary outline of anyone Luna deals damage to. Just like with her arrow, enemies detected by her passive will also be visible through walls. This makes it stack nicely with the Volt Arrow, since every tick reveals the enemy's immediate position for a little while. And finally, for the last recon operator, we have Hack Claw. She's sort of a fragger who can provide an insane amount of utility for pushing forward, as well as denying the enemy team's abilities and just getting overall information. That being said, most of her kit seems to be designed more for the extract mode rather than the battlefield one, but either way, let's go over how she works. Hackclaw's main ability, the signal decoder, periodically scans the surrounding area for enemies, displaying how many enemies are within your range of about 40 meters surrounding the Hackclaw at the right side of the screen. It then draws a line between the Hackclaw and her 3 closest enemies, showing the immediate path that you need to take to reach them. The path to the closest enemy will be displayed in red, the second most closest path will be displayed in yellow, and the farthermost path will be gray.
The signal decoder lasts for about 12 seconds and has a cooldown of about 70.
Hackclaw's second ability is the Flash Drone, and it is a playmaker. Activating this ability throws a drone that hovers forward for about 30 meters
and about 7 to 8 seconds
until it just kind of falls on the floor, unless destroyed. Any enemies within range of the drone that looks towards it will get flashbanged, which temporarily blinds them for a few seconds and turns them into an easy kill. The drone flashes in any direction and will turn blue just a few moments before it actually flashes. A good way to use the flash drone offensively is throwing it out from behind cover and then pushing up behind it or alongside it. This forces enemies to either look away to shoot the drone or shoot you, but if they go for the latter, they will get blinded, and most likely if you have teammates with you, they will trade the kill and maybe even revive you. The drone can also be thrown against a wall, where if you do it the right way, it can get stuck in that position and then flash anyone who gets within range for the typical duration of the drone. If you want to pull this off consistently, you will want to throw it against certain types of walls with holes, like these windows, to make sure it doesn't actually move. If you throw the drone towards a wall when you're close enough to it, it will actually bounce off of the wall and start going in the opposite direction. The flash drone has a cooldown of 45 seconds. Hackclaw's third ability is the Data Knife. This is another thrown ability like a grenade, but it's a knife, which can one-shot an enemy if it hits in the head. Or at least that's what the game says. I haven't been able to hit a single enemy with it yet because it's really hard to do, but I'm just believing them on this one. It will also temporarily disable any electronic ability that it hits. It has a very long range of at least 50 meters, and you can stack 2 of them at a time. time. Hacklaw's passive silent step allows her to walk normally as well as crouch while moving at a faster speed than any other operator. She also makes less noise while doing so, though footsteps aren't really that reliable in this game, so I don't know how much that actually matters. But either way, that should cover all of the operators for the alpha so far.
Also, while the clips I showed look cool, I am very aware that it is hard to keep up with all of the different weapons in the game and who can use them, which is why I made this nifty chart to help out. I've linked the tweet in the comments if you want to check it out or save it for yourself.
Seeing as there are 2 recons and assaults, and there being a 7th operator already teased, odds are we're going to see a lot more operators being added to the game in the near future, or at least for future releases. When it happens, I'm going to update the video, and just stay tuned for that, I guess. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.